Welcome back. It's the Timeout Show. We're adding a little extra bit to it now. We're going to call it Timeout, the No Flop Zone. I'm Boti Nagy. With me is Joey Wright, my co-host. Joey, we've got a lot of basketball to talk about because there's a lot been happening. The news of the week, of course, is the Mike Kelly sacking. How did you react to that?
Well, being a coach, any coach being sacked is not a great thing. And Mike Kelly is a personal friend, and as you know, just one great human being who probably did, everything he was supposed to there at Phoenix and still take the sack. So that's probably a little bit of a dilemma for me when there's so many different people, decisions are being made other than the coaches, and then the coach get to ask. If you're going to make the decision and it didn't go right, everybody should get to ask.
Yeah, that's a fair point, but he's one of the nicest guys in the game. That's why I think we're all sad to see him go. But you know what they say about nice guys, and that's where they finished last year. They finished last, and they're 0-5. So just looking at it from a management perspective, you might be thinking we need to make the change. I mean, obviously that is where they went.
Well, you definitely got to make the change. I mean, no knock on anyone, but it definitely got to make the change at that particular time. If you're 0-4, 0-5. And probably looking at finishing last again, some decisions got to be made.
Yeah, well, we've got some footage to show you of Simon Mitchell just having a quick word about what he thinks the future holds.
We believe in this group. We believe this roster can actually do really well. We think whilst 0-5, we've got 23 games to go, we can still make a run, as we saw last year with Illawarra. And we've seen in the AFL season just gone with Brisbane and Hawthorn. We feel like there is a turnaround in this group. And as I said, this group's really positive. This group's really solid. They believe in each other, and we believe in them.
Joey, what do you think? Can this team make the playoffs?
Well,
with Sam McKinnon, another one of your men.
Yeah, and they definitely can make the playoffs. Depending on how they respond under Sam, they definitely have to win these next couple games. It just has some interest, but it's still early, and they can definitely make the playoffs from here. I was in a scenario where we had to win 10 of 11 to make playoffs, and we won 11.
Yep. So
sometimes
it's doable.
It's doable.
What do you think, Joey, with this Southeast Melbourne program over the years? They've failed. They've disappointed time after time. They've had consistent injury problems over every season. So I wonder about their strength and conditioning situation. Just generally, you look at this roster on paper. You pick up 4 guys from the Sydney Kings who've won championships, and Derek Walton, Jordan Hunter, Angus Glover, and Tom Vodanovic. You think that's going to immediately mean a culture change in a positive, and then they're 0-5.
I definitely think something's going there. Obviously, Ben Ayre is there playing, and Ben Ayre has been, one of the heart and soul of that team over the last couple of years, and has come in and played both sides. Rarely have they had players that played both sides, and Ben Ayre was a guy that contributed offensively for them, but also came in and got things going, and they decided to take that spirit away from their team. And to me, that's exactly what they're missing, is a Ben Ayre. Yeah. And they got one sitting on the bench.
Yep. Okay. And Nathan Sobey, his form has been all over the place. He had a go before this game talking about Justin Schuller at Brisbane before they lost to the Bullets, talking about his dog shot at him as he departed. You've coached Nathan Sobey. How easy is he to coach?
Nathan's tough to coach. He's definitely tough to coach. He's high intense. All great players are tough to coach. I've never met a great player that was easy to coach. So all great players are tough to coach. Nathan was definitely tough to coach, but if you ask Nathan, he'd say tough to play for me too. But
it's tough to work with you.
Exactly. That's where the excellence comes out, though. At that point, that's where the brilliance comes out, when we're all at that stage where we're right on the cusp of, is it too much or if it's not enough? The brilliance comes where it's right at too much. That's the only way you can be successful in sport, in any sport. It's right where it's too much. So you want guys and coaches that can exist in that area, that exist in that realm, right in that area where it's right before it's too much. And that's where the success is.
Great players, you said, they're always tough to coach. Why? What is it about the great players? What do they want from you as a coach? Do they want the direction, or are they all about winning, or all about themselves? What is it that makes them more difficult than the guy like a Ben Ayre who's just going to come out and bust his ass and seize his opportunity?
Well, like I said, you all those great players exist in that area right before too much. Well, you can't balance there. So some days it's too much, and then some days it's here, and then some days it's too much, and you get an equilibrium that comes out that's a little bit right over the top.
Yeah.
But that's where the greatness happens. One attribute to any great player is a little bit of selfishness, and they know it. They know it. So that makes it hard to exist in a team environment when you're a little bit selfish and you know. But every great player is a little bit selfish, and they know. So you just have to fit that into your system, and hopefully it works.
And that's a beautiful segue to Chris Goulding, who played his 450th game for Melbourne in the last round in the killing of the Adelaide 36ers. Now, Chris, did you ever think he'd make 450 games? Not that you ever thought, Chris, he's going to make 450. But did you ever think he'd have this sort of longevity?
I don't think you could think anybody's going to have this type of longevity. 450 games and play them the way he played them is unbelievable. But, when I seen him as a little 15, 16-year-old run around in the gym, no, I didn't think he would have this type of influence on Australian basketball over this longer time. But once I coached him after a couple of years, I sat him down one day and said, you could play at the highest level. I really was. His creativity, as you still see, his approach to the game, his hard work, and just who he is as a human being just makes it really tough for you to deny any success he's had. He's a great human being. Do
you reckon he's taken as many charges as Jesse Wagstaff?
I think he's taken as many no. Yeah, he throws his body around a little bit. I don't know if they're charges, but he throws his body around a little bit.
So you've been with Chris a long time. He started with you, as a DP?
He started me as a DP, at Brisbane. So I was in the gym one night playing old man, fat man league basketball, and we had.
He couldn't play it now, Joey. I could. You couldn't.
As you do, you have injuries, right? So we got down to 4 players. No, we got down to 3 players, and Big Joe was kind of sitting on the sideline laughing. I said, "We stop laughing." I said, "Can you find me another player?" We were playing against Benny Thompson, that used to play down at Perth Wildcats in New Zealand, and I wanted to beat him bad. So he said, that kid over there can play a little bit. So I said, just come on. I said, come on over here. I said, we need 4 people. Just, shoot the ball when you get it. I didn't have to tell him that twice. Every time he got the ball, he shot it, and he really went to work. And I was like, who are you? And I said, what association you at? And he said, I'm not at any association. And I said, well, where are you playing at? And he goes, nowhere. And I said, well, look, just come to our practice. Come to the Bullets practice. I want to see you more. And so we invited him out to practice. And he came, and, at first he sat on the other end of the bleachers, and he brought pizza for lunch. And Sam McKinnon and those guys roasted him for bringing pizza. And but he was just a little 15, 16-year-old that was on school break. And he came up and trained with us, and been with me ever since.
And the rest is history.
The rest is history.
Fantastic. We'll be back in just a moment.
Paddy Mills Beyond Basketball is a tribute to Australia's greatest current Indigenous sportsman, an inspirational Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander whose uniform hangs at St Mary's College in California, a man instrumental in the San Antonio Spurs winning an NBA championship, and the basketballer who gave Australia its greatest individual performance in an Olympic medal round, when he steered the Boomers to bronze in Tokyo. Yet it could have been so different. Had it not been for AFL and Collingwood superstar Scott Pendlebury rejecting a basketball scholarship to the Australian Institute of Sport, the Paddy Mills story would have been very different. This is his inspirational story and journey intertwined with the history of the Boomers. Prepare to be amazed and moved. Paddy Mills Beyond Basketball.
Welcome back. We want to talk about the Next Stars program, because I recently I saw and heard this podcast, Jeremy Lowliger, the outgoing commissioner, jumped on the bat poles and left, talking about how the Next Stars program began. And apparently it was a Sydney player agent that had a lot to do with it, and all these other people that I was sort of thinking, gee, that's not my recollection of it. What's yours?
Well, it's definitely not my recollection at all. And you know what? You don't need to have credit for everything you do, but when someone purposely try to exclude you from having the credit, that's
Yeah.
when it becomes disparaging.
Yeah.
Like hearing Jeremy talk about the Next Stars program and reluctant to bring up the fact that they based it all on Terrence Ferguson, which, you know, I brought out Terrence and basically started that program. It's disappointing. Like, give me the credit, you know, and this is how history happens, because in 10 years from now, no one will know, and Jeremy Legler will get the credit for the Next Stars program. And that's just how history happens. But it'll be one little side note there, little footnote written by Boti.
Well, I've already written it, because I mean, my recollection of it was that Raheem Brown brought the idea to you.
Correct.
And then you sat down with Guy Hedderwick, who was the CEO or general manager of the 36ers at that time, and then you took a punt on this high school kid, Terrence Ferguson, and then that panned out, and the Next Stars program was born officially the year after that. But that was the actual foundation of it.
It was, and then what Jeremy tried to allude to in his comment was that it was some problems in exiting the program. It was no problems exiting the program. We knew exactly how to exit the program, exactly how to work with the NBA, because they wasn't aware of it. They came in, convoluted the situation, and we end up, you know, having an issue there. But that had nothing to do with how it was set up. We had it set up perfectly. This system has been around in Europe for 20 years. Like, Europe has been selling players to the NBA forever. Every European player that came over early, their clubs all got paid out. So it wasn't like we created this deal. Raheem just knew it because Raheem played in Europe and thought it'd be a great idea to bring here to Australia. I laughed at it. I said, NBA ain't coming down here. No kids will come way over here. Like, you know, that's not gonna happen. But hey, we got not much money to bring Ferguson in. Let's just do it. And we made it work.
What do you think of the Next Stars program now? Because I know I'm in the minority, but I don't think it's great. I really don't, because for me, for every Alex Sarr that goes high in the draft, there's a Trenton Flowers who's more excited about seeing himself up on the big screen. And you know, what are we saying about our league when we say that some 19-year-old can come here and dominate and go to the NBA? What does that say about the standard of our league?
I don't think most of them are dominated, though. I think most of them have come down and took their licks. I think it's great for the right person, and I think it's horrible for the wrong person. If you get a kid coming down here, you know, and because the NBL does a great job of marketing names up and pictures everywhere, and you know, social media and stuff. If he's more interested in that than the guts of basketball and learning, you know, basketball, then you're in trouble. Terrence came down with an open mind. Came down with an open mind. He wanted to learn. He was willing to work hard. We didn't have any problems out of Terrence Ferguson. Not one problem the entire year. Great kid. Yeah.
And then I look at the other side of it, what LaMelo Ball did in terms of playing for the Hawks, the amount of eyes he brought into the league. Well, okay, you sort of go, all right, well, that makes sense. But just generally, I don't know.
Well, I think it's got to be the right ones. You got to do your homework, and you can't bring down a kid that's just going to go high in the draft. He has to go high in the draft, but he's got to be willing to assimilate into Australian culture a little bit. He has to be willing to understand NBL basketball at a certain level and not resist it. He has to be willing to fit in, because you're not going to be the superstar anymore. And this is their first shot at not being a superstar.
And here's a quick memory of Terrence Ferguson while we take a break.
Hi, I'm Joey Wright, owner-operator at Shoot HQ. I want to welcome you to my happy place.
Hey, welcome to Shoot HQ.
Go, go! Here at Shoot HQ, we got everything you need to enhance your game of basketball. Some of the greatest players in Australian basketball come here to train. When it comes to basketball training facilities, Shoot HQ stands out with our unique offerings. With over 40 years of personal experience in basketball and a track record of coaching some of Australia's top players, I bring a wealth of experience to our programs. We're going to pass it to the wing one time, and we're attacking from the wing. Coupled with our state-of-the-art training tools, Shoot HQ is your one-stop destination to elevate your basketball skills. So whether you want a one-off shooting session or looking to become a member, you can book courts online at shoothq.com.au.
We're back and we're coming up with Joey's favourite segment, Coach's Corner. What is our topic this week?
We're going to talk about trades in the NBL.
All right.
Trades in the NBL. I think that it'll be a great talking point for the NBL. You look at scenarios just like Ben Air, like we just spoke about Ben Air.
Yep.
Phoenix coming into the season, Ben thought he had a place in that team. The decision makers decided to go a different way, and all of a sudden you have this asset that's sitting on the bench at Phoenix that, you know, maybe Sydney could use right now with their point guard being out. Maybe, you know, Cairns could use right now with their point guard being out. So what I would propose is any player that makes under 100 grand can be traded up until the first of the year, but the team has to pay for relocation. Anybody who makes over 100 grand can be traded up until the same first of the year, but they have to pay for their own relocation.
Right.
I'll keep it that simple.
Well, that is pretty simple. Yeah. I mean, I'm not against trades. I think that would be a good thing. There's been many times where a team has had a glaring weakness because someone's got injured and you got someone sitting deep in a bench not playing where it could have been. So you reckon the first of the year, like, so that's the cutoff point, like
that's the cutoff point.
Midpoint of the season.
Midpoint of the season, cut it off at that particular time. And what it does is actually improve the value of your league, because you do take an asset that's sitting on the bench somewhere else, and instead of it being a 20-point blowout because a team doesn't have a point guard, they made a quick trade. This guy comes in, plays, and all of a sudden it's, you know, they lose, but they lose by 5, and it was a competitive basketball game. So I just think it'd be better for the league, better for everyone if we allow trades.
So why do you think we don't have trades in the NBL?
Well, I think we don't have trades in the NBL. Coming back to culture, y'all culture. To tell someone you're on the team and now we get rid of you and you got to go somewhere else to another team and we're bringing somebody else. I think to you guys, that's probably one of the worst things you could do to someone when that's just part of sport everywhere else in the world.
Particularly America. Like
Particularly America.
Yeah, it's a very American thing, whereas,
you're not good enough, you got to go.
Yeah, where it's about mateship here.
Yeah.
You're on the team.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's about having people from the community of DPs, whether they should be DPs or not. It's a little inside joke here. You want to explain that one? Okay.
No. I've got a question from left field for you. The Boomers, the Australian team. Brian Goorjian has said, farewell, I've done my bit, got them to the highest that they've ever been, which is the bronze medal in Tokyo. Who should be the next Boomers coach, excluding yourself?
Excluding myself. Throw myself out. I would like Dean Vickerman.
Yep.
I think Dean's been around it long enough. He's had success at the highest level. He's done all the junior basketball coaching, so he's done all that when he was younger. And, you know, probably at this point in time, you know, whether he stays at Melbourne United or not, it's probably a good segue for him to have something different. He's been at Melbourne for a while now. I'd like to see Dean.
What about Scott Roth? What's your take on Scott Roth?
I think it'd probably needs someone that understands the culture a little bit more and not as inflexible as maybe he may be. I definitely would probably pick Dean over him just from a cultural point of view.
And the third one, Trevor Gleeson.
I think Dean's a better coach, but I do think Trevor would do a great job as well. So Trevor could come in and do a great job, but if I had my choice between the two, I would take Dean. I think socially works better with people, but I do think Trevor would do a great job as well. Okay,
that's who we've discussed, who we think. Who do you think will get it?
Oh, that's a good question. I think Trevor will get it. Of anybody, I think Trevor will get it, or maybe even Caporn or Matty Nilsson. No. They're in the system now.
Yeah.
I don't think they'd be the best choice because I think someone needs to have that hardcore head coaching experience.
Isn't Caporn the one who draws up the last play where we turn it over?
That's not his fault.
Well, I'm just saying, if you've drawn up a play and the result is a turnover, you don't even get a shot up.
That ain't the coach's fault.
Oh, right, okay. Of course.
That ain't the coach's fault. That's
well,
back on the players.
Like in one instance, it's an inbounds play. So maybe you had the wrong guy passing it in, falls back on the coach. And the other one was Paddy Mills dribbling the ball and losing it.
And once again, neither one of those have anything to do with the coach.
It does.
You can't take credit for everything that goes wrong.
If
just like you can't take credit for everything that goes right.
But if you're in the defensive position and you put a 7-footer on the inbounds pass, that's good coaching, isn't it?
Yeah.
So if you put a guy like Josh Giddey, who I expect you think is one of the great passers, so they made the right choice.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it's going to be some common sense decisions being made, but if you make the common sense decision, they turn the ball over.
All I'm saying is the two examples I've seen of Capel making the call didn't work out well. And Matt Nielsen's another one. I love Matt Nielsen and what he's doing in terms of preparing to be a head coach. But I don't think your first gig can be the national job, surely. That means you're going to a World Cup or an Olympics.
Well, he has been a head coach in NBA, the G League. So he's done a head coaching job, yeah.
I didn't know that. I thought he was assisting at San
Antonio.
Antonio.
Spurs last year at G League.
Yeah, okay.
I might be wrong.
We might have to check that.
Yeah,
we'll have that fact checked.
Fact check.
Okay, and we'll be back in a moment with our tips for this week's NBL round.
At Shoot HQ, we prioritize personalized attention with small group sessions. This ensures that every player receives focused guidance from our team of exceptional coaches who were all trained by myself.
I'm Lawrence, head trainer here at Shoot HQ.
I'm Mags, trainer here at Shoot HQ.
I'm Liam, the strength coach from Shoot HQ.
If you want to take the next step up, I personally do one-on-ones, but I will ask you to train hard. We don't just offer small group sessions here, we also offer squad sessions. Bring your entire team out to be coached by some of the best coaches in Australia. And even better, your first squad session for free. Find out more information on our squad sessions online.
And we're back with tips for this week's round. We start off with New Zealand at Brisbane.
Yeah, I'm going to roll with Brisbane on that just because New Zealand has had a monster of a trip and they're probably due for a loss.
Yeah, and I think in terms of Brisbane winning that game last week already and at home, should get that one. Okay, Sydney at Tasmania.
I'm gonna fall on Tasmania for this one. I just figure they got to bounce back. Like, I can't see a Scott Roth team lay down a couple times. I would think he would. It's this thing that coaches do in between losses, which is make life completely hell in every way possible. So you don't even care about winning. You just don't want to feel that way again for the next week. Yeah. So you do whatever it takes to win. I would think it'd been a little bit of that going on down there in Tasmania. 33-point
loss, the biggest loss in Tasmania's brief history. But the thing I didn't like about it was that's the first time I saw Tasmania without fight. Now, that's been so much a part of that culture that they will fight to the end, and I just didn't see that same element of desire. I think, obviously Jack McVeigh being gone, that you just got to get used to that, because Ruben Tarangi is no Jack McVeigh.
He's not even close to Jack McVeigh, not even close. But, Jack played in that system a year after, so the Jack Jumpers were around a year before Jack, and you still never seen him lay down. So maybe Jack's a factor in what they've been used to, but that first year when Jack didn't play there, you never seen him lay down before. So this is new.
I think we're going to fact check that, because I think Jack's been there since day one. But
has it?
Yeah, but there you go. All right, we've got Perth in New Zealand.
Perth in New Zealand. I'm going to roll with Perth.
Wow. So New Zealand's going to go from 2-0, top of the league, to 2-2 down the middle.
I think they're.
Which is where they belong.
I think they're headed down. I mean, I've been on that NBA trip before.
Yeah.
It is a monster.
Does anybody win their first game after that? My recollection is no.
I don't know if anyone has, but if they have, you got to give them a pat on the back for that. That's maybe Melbourne. I think Melbourne came back after the Oklahoma City game and won the next time out. Which I think might have been against us.
Oh, okay. So that one's more vivid in your memory. It's just that I remember the Sixers beating Phoenix Suns and coming over and getting clobbered in their first game. Yeah,
for a while. And
then being pretty ordinary from that point on. Yeah. All right, this is a big one. Illawarra at Cairns.
That is a big one. Taron Armstrong should be back by then, and I'm going to roll with Cairns on that.
Yeah, I'm going to go with that proviso. If Cairns has everybody, like Tanner Groves is important too. If they've got their full team, I like them to get that. But if not, then I'd be inclined to favour Illawarra.
Yeah.
And Southeast Melbourne at Melbourne, Sam McKinnon gets to coach Nathan Sobey again, as he did in Brisbane when he was the interim for 5 minutes against Melbourne.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. But in this situation, you have won a row with Southeast. Like everything is, the pitch is set up. You know, new coach, they'll be fired up. New existence out there. You know. I'm a roll with Southeast.
Okay,
I don't think so, but I just...
We're split on that. I'm going with Melbourne United. After what United did to Adelaide last game, because the 36ers had been playing well, and they were getting a little bit of momentum, and I actually thought they were going to probably win that game, and United just after half-time, some of the play was stuff you'd put in the time capsule, you know, the pass in reverse dunk from Marcus Lee, super dunk from Jack White, just some great passing and teamwork. They looked really, really good. They looked like the number one team against Adelaide.
Did Melbourne win the game before?
No.
No. Adelaide
They'd
won
lost
3?
It. Yeah, they lost it.
That's
your theory, isn't
That's
it?
my theory.
Just for the benefit of the viewers.
So look, my theory for all you punters out there, you want to make a bet. A team that's won 3 games playing against a team that lost 1, pick the team that lost 1 no matter home or away.
And it'll serve you well.
It'll serve you very
Which
well.
Brings us to the final game, Tasmania at Adelaide.
Yeah.
Again,
I think Adelaide gets that one. I think Adelaide against Melbourne was a bit fatigued. I've seen a lot of fatigue in that game out of some of their main players.
Yep.
I think that that game against Sydney was probably a bit emotional for some. And obviously it was taxing because Sydney, whether they play good, they do play hard. So you got guys out there just going at you the whole time. So I thought that probably took a lot of emotion out of them. And first time being in that arena, they go down to Melbourne, they just couldn't sustain that intensity. But I think they'll be back for the Jack Jumpers game.
Okay, and I'm also going to go with Adelaide for that one. All right, that's it for us this week. We're going to be on every week during the season and probably monthly during the off season. Subscribe and leave a comment in the comment section below. We're happy to be here and we'll be back next week.